I believe that one of the greatest promises of the blockchain is social. Facebook exists because the founders of the internet, in all of their genius, failed to solve the identity problem with an open source commons approach. The blockchain answers that. Hi, I'm Andrew Goldner. I'm one of the founders of GrowthX, and I'm here at Draper University. And if you want to be a great entrepreneur, I suggest coming here, Draper University.
To that, actually, what do you say about a marketeer has to create a social phenomenon today? Not becoming, as we said, the IBM, but a social phenomenon like WhatsApp. So the early adopters were us, convincing our parents later on to get WhatsApp as well, to stay in contact with us. How do you stand to this, and what do you think can we do towards blockchain and blockchain companies to create social phenomena? Wow, there's a lot to unpack there. I mean, I think I understand the first part of your question. Really sounds like more B2C, sounds like more of, you know, creating a viral coefficient. If you have something that truly can create that network effect. The best example that's always used is the telephone. It became a more useful technology to everybody the more people that use that technology. And so nowadays you hear viral coefficient thrown around and you hear networking effects thrown around, not only as if it's just an easy thing to do because they've seen WhatsApp do it, and what WhatsApp did is nearly impossible, but also they're throwing it around because they're not offering a solution that actually gets better the more people use it, and that's how network effects start to play. And so I think marketing and growth marketing is something that's very different in B2C than it is B2B. The beauty of nowadays, with all of the free to near free tools that you can have at your disposal to do growth marketing, which is all about data-driven, you know, paying attention and collecting all of the haptic feedback that your potential users and your current users are actually giving you if you're paying attention, collecting all of that data and understanding how to pay attention to that data, react to that data, and continually iterate and move towards perfection for each type of user you have, is really about those social phenomena. You know, and again, I think there's a whole conversation that can happen about growth marketing and what Sean coined and Andrew Chen popularized here, growth hacking, right? Which really is this idea of some creativity, some marketing sense, some engineering understanding of the underlying work of the internet to be able to manipulate it is a great way to grow a social or anything B2C. In terms of the blockchain, I mean, again, I think that's just a whole other conversation. I mean, I believe that one of the greatest promises of the blockchain is social. Because when you look at the origins back when I was practicing law of the internet, the open source protocols that are the backbone of the internet, let's call TCP/IP or HTTP, or even, by the way, GPS. I mean, what would have happened if the US government said, nah, this is ours, we're not going to open source that, right? What the internet failed to do was create an open source commons answer to identity. And so private companies stepped into that hole, that void. Obviously, the biggest and most well-known winner now is Facebook. Facebook exists because the founders of the internet, in all of their genius, failed to solve the identity problem with an open source commons approach. The blockchain answers that.
The blockchain is a way to go back and actually answer identity in a way that each of us can keep control and own it, and others can create choices. Again, I'm not anti-Facebook. Don't take this the wrong way, please. I'm just using it as an example. The point is that there will be more choices for how we want others to commercialize our personal data when there are real alternatives to the current options. And yes, technically you can delete your Facebook account, but it happens that Facebook and others like it deliver an enormous amount of value that a lot of us don't want to get rid of. But what choice do we have? And so I don't know if I'm directly answering your question, but the beauty, I think, of the blockchain is it's actually another bite at the apple of what the founders of the internet actually built and just didn't do. I'm not going to question why, but this is one of the things that they just didn't do. And the beauty of the blockchain, to me, is unlike the internet, the blockchain lives in the age of applied technology and the age of information. So we have the blockchain and the internet. One of the beauties of what the internet did is it disaggregated and democratized the collection and dissemination of information. And yes, we are, as a race of people, seeing the downside to human nature based on the collection, the aggregation, the dissemination of information so easily. But I think over time we'll see it as a net positive. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens over time with the blockchain, given how much more connected we are, and because technology is so drastically reduced in terms of the cost and the expertise. I think blockchain is going to be able to flourish and have an impact at a rate and a depth that's far greater than what we saw from TCP/IP or HTTP or GPS. Hey, I'm Andrew Goldner. I'm the co-founder of GrowthX, and I'm just off the stage talking with the new cohort at Draper University. What an amazing audience, super international, super diverse, and a lot of great questions. That was one of the best audiences I've had here at Draper University.